Okay, welcome back. Gua Punya Suka episode 2. I'm not sure about calling them episodes actually. Episodes of what? It was just a first thing that I latched onto. I'll probably change that up. But yeah, this is one of those rides, one of those commutes where I'm actually rushing in both efforts, going and coming back. Setting off from Jalan Tenteram, you might be familiar with this area from the previous video. So heading to NUS via entering from Clementi Road, sort of like I guess one of the main entrances. You sort of like enter UCC first before you get into the rest of the compound. In this, I'm actually rushing to work. I left home a bit late, which explains why I'm kind of furiously just mashing through the commute on this one. So I apologize for any behavior that isn't entirely welcoming on some level, but I think it's okay. I didn't hurt anyone. I'm not out to hurt anyone either. This short instance that's coming up, I actually used the pavement very quickly, only because I'm unsure of whether it's actually worth taking the lane on the right, so I just skipped onto the pavement very quickly before I meandered out back onto the road. I apologize for that. But yeah, I mean, I didn't hurt anyone, pedestrians not walking through, so on and so forth. The camera really does make everything look like it's a lot closer than it is. So now we're heading towards Novena, after which we enter into Newton Circus at the roundabout. It's coming up in a couple of minutes. For most of my commute towards NUS, this is generally the main route that I take. I can't think of any other like potential routes to take. I did try once going through Northbridge Road into Southbridge, and then Chinatown, Outram into West Coast, down what's it called? Pasir Panjang. and then into Clementi Road. But yeah, that I think that's a much longer route compared to this one. This one feels like it cuts through a lot quicker. So going out from Balestier into Novena, and then quickly through Newton into Bukit Timah, and then all the way down Bukit Timah. You'll see the route eventually. It's really clear. So now we're in Novena, and this particular road brings you straight to Newton. There's been a lot of road works that has been happening in this area over the last year or so. Maybe, things have sort of changed over time. So far, at the time that I left home, this was around 3:20, I think. Around 3:20 p.m. on a Wednesday. Traffic's pretty clear. Very sorry for that. Yeah, traffic's relatively clear at this hour. Bukit Timah, on the other hand, sometimes it can be a bit congested in that area, but this time around it wasn't that bad. Actually, it was quite breezy to get through. So here we're entering Newton Circus. Now this roundabout, and I guess maybe, I don't know, like maybe the roundabout could be like a whole video on its own, right? In terms of how you navigate through roundabouts, particularly when it comes to, which lane to take, and when motorists are sort of like moving quite quickly. So in this instance, because I need to make a left into Bukit Timah, I take, not exactly the leftmost lane. So this is kind of like 2 lanes in, and then after which I signal to switch into the left lane, which brings me into Bukit Timah. So it's a bit of a tricky area, but if you're cycling on the road and you are not moving at a fast pace, right, and you're still utilizing, you still have to go through the roundabout. I don't think, on the one hand, yes, you should look out for yourselves, be careful of general traffic, but it is okay to just keep to the leftmost side of the street and follow the arrows in terms of where it is that you're going towards. So take, for instance, if you are actually not going to be turning left at this particular exit, but the next one, just follow closely to what the sign on the road says. So like if it actually signals that this is a left turning lane, you could move to the lane next to it. Even if it's not the leftmost, you could still signal to motorists behind you that you are not making a left turn. You are actually going to still be moving straight and taking another exit. Moving slow should not prevent you from using the road. Nevertheless, it's still possible. You're not intentionally holding back traffic whatsoever. You're actually just commuting at your own pace. And I hope this is something that motorists also really take into consideration as well, that not everyone travels at the same speed, right? Particularly cyclists. We don't have engines unless someone's using an e-bike. But the point is, when your legs are your engine, you want to be mindful, respectful, and giving of the fact that we would be traveling at a very different speed altogether. So give space, allow for momentarily for there to be some kind of slowness that happens. No one's in a rush to do anything at this point in time. We all want to commute safely, so please, be mindful of that, I suppose. This is a note to motorists, cyclists. We should be mindful of our surroundings, nevertheless, but you shouldn't feel, compelled to move as fast as possible. At least that's how I think. This road over here, it's also really tricky. It's the only lane that you have to move straight is actually the leftmost, and even then, that is also a turning lane as well. So I kind of recommend, if you're here, to be at the front of the lane and then basically just head off, because sometimes you never know where motorists are sort of like headed towards, or if they eventually signal immediately wanting to go straight as opposed to making that right turn. So yeah, something to be mindful of. A lot of ins and outs, like of different smaller roads over here, so be careful of traffic that's going in and out. Generally, the condition of the road over here is actually quite okay. It's pretty nice and smooth. I don't recall any major terrible cracks or gaps. Maybe here and there, but it's not too bad just yet. It's not until when you hit around Botanic Gardens MRT, if I'm not wrong, slightly further up ahead, where there are quite a few really massive potholes, pretty dangerous stuff. Another stretch that I recall off the top of my mind before we get there later on is along Singapore Polytechnic, so Commonwealth Avenue West. There's some really sketchy spots over there, but we'll sort of look into that as we get So over here we're keeping left because we're not moving straight. We'll be taking a left into Farrer Road. Over here, the roads are starting to get a little bit sketchy, if I recall. A lot of bumps here and there, some unevenness. But just a little bit further up near the bus stop, there are some really sketchy spots. Some maybe a pothole or two, if I recall. You might be able to see it on the cameras. There we go. Yep, those spots over there, those were wow, you do not want to be trapped in there. We take a left here into Farrer. Constantly checking the time at this stage of the commute. Oh please, I hope I'm not late. So here we are, we're still sort of just going down Farrer. Well, actually going up. This area over here is a bit of an uphill for you to go through. Some really sketchy spots over here as well. sometimes when you're out on the road, it's like you're picking up on how, this kind of a kind of body language where motorists are kind of like, it's like a mecca, right? They're inside this vehicle and they're sort of like contemplating where they want to go, and you can sometimes sense that or read that as well. That kind of hesitation as to where it is that they're turning. Some really sketchy spots along this stretch of the road. Must be careful. Someone who rides a single speed, the need to stop and then immediately go again is it's so exhausting. I mean, I have no complaints, but it's just really, it gets me a little bit frustrated where you have to stop, and then after that, before you know it, it's the green light and you're just sort of like, okay, pick up, let's go. Here we're going down, headed towards Holland Village. We'll hit like a kind of split in the road later on where, you have the option of actually going straight and then going, into Buena Vista, or what I did was I turned left, going down Holland and then eventually going back into Buena Vista. The reason for that is quite simple. You get an opportunity to actually just go down here very quickly. So that's also part of, I don't know, I feel like it's a part of commuting strategy as well. Wherever you get an opportunity to put, less effort, that always helps. So when you're going downhill, you can sort of like afford to not go as hard or pedal as hard or put as much effort as compared to going through flats or even uphill for that matter. So I guess on some level I'm thinking about these environments in general, like if I took this route, what are things that I would encounter and how could I travel in a sense more efficiently, based on the general kind of like geographic conditions. How much uphill do I have to battle versus how much more rest time can I get while still pedaling. So downhill is like a good opportune moment to catch a breath, in my opinion. So here we go downhill. This is like a good opportunity to just catch your breath, rest a little bit, and I take this route only because there is that brief moment where you spend a bit of time just enjoying the wind. Fellow commuter on the bike. Here we take a right into Commonwealth Avenue West. there's a slight uphill over here, but once you get past this, it's a pretty nice road that brings you all the way straight down towards Clementi Road. So technically there is also another opportunity to turn left over here and go in from Dover Close, which is a different route from the back, or through Dover Road actually. There's another, it's just an alternative route if you want to go through that. But I feel like that other place, it's more uphill, downhill compared to this one. This one I think is a bit more flat, maybe a bit of uphill, but there's a really nice downhill that happens just after you go past it. But this stretch of road though, be careful on the leftmost side of it. There's just a lot of sketchy parts of the road which hasn't been patched up yet. I'm still looking at the time. Do not take left. The uphill here on the left side is just yeah, so the road condition on this side of Commonwealth Avenue West, it's just pretty intense. You have to be very mindful of where you're going. Traffic can be also a little bit intense over here as well. Buses, lots of cars that sort of like zoom past depending on the time that you're at. So just, it's just one of those roads where it goes from not busy to extremely busy at any given time, I feel. See, there's so much cracks and gaps. I think I actually, by luck, missed one by keeping to an extremely leftmost part of the lane. I think it's probably coming up. But this one, oh, look at that. God. I think there's some construction up ahead. And this is just really nice downhill. Look at all those. It's not super bad, but if you do get caught in one of those, it can get bad. So yeah, here we turn left into Clementi Road, which all the way straight down gets you straight to NUS. So I guess it's probably a good time to also signal to, motorists that when you do see cyclists that don't really abide to the leftmost part of the road sometimes, and you have to consider the fact that the road conditions itself aren't great. They're not safe for cyclists to be there, so they would eventually move a little bit out to the center of the lane, just to avoid that. It's really just a safety measure. In no ways do we want to make it seem like we're hogging the road in any way. In fact, I don't think that should even be considered in many ways, unless someone's deliberately just being in the middle, being extremely slow when you're right behind them. I don't know. Just be mindful of the fact that we're all sharing the roads, and we have reasons as to why we sometimes are not where we are. Over here, as you can see, I'm also quite in the center of the lane, and that's only because I don't want to keep left, because left is eventually going to be a turning lane. So I do want to signal to motorists that I'm not going to be turning left, that I'm actually just moving straight. It should be commonsensical, because the left is the highway and bicycles are not allowed on the highway. So even here, I'm also very mindful as to when I switch lanes. I just want to make sure that no cars are sort of like right behind me, and because this is pretty, you kind of like enter the highway through here as well. Cars tend to be, motorists tend to be really, really fast in these areas. So I'm generally a lot more careful before I switch lanes. I want to make sure that it's all clear, or at least cars are not going extremely fast. And here we are, making a left, and we end up at NUS. Short climb, short uphill. Quick reward going downhill. That's it. So now we are coming out of NUS, and I'm headed back home. Similarly, I eventually don't end up going through Balestier. I eventually end up back at St. George's, going back home from that road instead. It's just a lot quicker based on where I'm commuting from. And I have another reason why I am rushing through the commute back home, and that is because I have to fetch my kid from school. Or at least not from school, but the bus is dropping her off at our place. Be careful of other, road users, other motorists, or other cyclists that might be sort of like weaving in and out of lanes. Sometimes we may not see one another, so it's just a good habit to be mindful. Not to go too fast when everyone's slowed down. So this is the same route, heading back, more or less. It changes later on when we are over at Ferrer Road. Over here, I took a bit of a head start as well because motorists would be, some motorists would want to enter the highway, which is on the left. I do not want to be stuck on the leftmost side of the lane when I start cycling, so take a bit of a head start and keep to the lane, which allows me to just go straight. These kinds of instances, they can be a bit tricky. I think, having the ability or having some kind of comfort to be able to move a bit fast and also respond a bit quick helps. So I would say that instances where you're sort of like taking these roads would require a bit of time for you to, one, get used to it, and two, to also be comfortable in managing traffic that's sort of like coming towards you. It's one thing to be able to be comfortable switching lanes. It's another to also be comfortable doing so with traffic, oncoming as well. So yeah, this can be a little bit tricky to navigate in many ways. So again, please ride safely. Signaling because the road is a little bit clear at this point in time, but I still want to be able to. There are still some cars that's coming behind like that. I still want to signal because I am actually making a huge, change of lanes from a fairly left most lane all the way towards this right side, which is a turning lane. This is a pretty big change that is going to happen. There are instances where I don't get lucky or I'm not able to do it. So what happens is I end up on the leftmost side of the lane is where I was, and wait to cross the traffic light, to cross this intersection and be on the other side before I cross over to where it is that I need to go, which is Commonwealth Avenue West. So yeah, if I couldn't make it to this side of the lane, I would actually just continue down with the rest of these vehicles that's sort of like going down, and then park myself, kind of just station myself at the intersection on the other side to cross the intersection. I hope that makes sense. The point is, if you miss an opportunity to actually change lanes, it's not the end of it, and there are alternatives to sort of like make your way across. Same thing. I'm just looking at the clock. I don't know. Wednesdays is just like beat the clock. I need to go here quick. I need to go here quick. It's just the nature of how things are. That Anyway, fun fact, I used to live in Dover for a period of time in the rental blocks just behind Dover Rise. Rushing through. Patches on this side, oh, it's bad. So we're coming back to the intersection where we're reaching Buena Vista MRT. Previously we came from all the way straight up and making a left into Holland Village. That's where we came from. I mean, that was where I was coming in from on the commute over. Now coming back, I make a left here instead because on the other side, as you remember, we have a really nice downhill as I'm sort of like coming down before we make a right turn into Commonwealth Avenue West. If I go through there again, it means I have to go uphill. So I want to avoid that. And so we're down in this particular road. On the right side is Holland Village. And I think that's Civil Service College, if I'm not wrong. I think Civil Service something. Maybe it might be the college or Civil Service Center. I cannot remember. But anyway, this is a much more nicer route because you don't have to climb hill over here. This stretch of road as well. At least in that area over there, you can see like the cracks are extremely noticeable. So please cycle safely if you ever go through this area here. I guess the thing about commuting on roads, for the most of it, building up confidence is one of those things that you definitely need to have to go through a process of. In terms like building confidence is a process of being on the road. So much like anything that you need to practice, repetition helps build confidence on the road, and also being able to read cars, all the different motorized vehicles on the road, constantly being out really helps in building confidence, building, your ability to read where people are going, the kind of speeds that they are going in relation to yours, because that's actually one of the more important things, how your speed is relative to another vehicle. Being able to get a sense of that helps with your confidence, because then you know your ability really well and how you could match it with another vehicle's general speed and capabilities. So sometimes I do think it's actually a good practice just to, even if it's not commuting to work or somewhere, a general good habit, in my opinion, is to just take your bike out and cycle on the left side of the streets. Please bring your helmet out, bring your lights with you if you're going out at night, and take the opportunity to get a sense of what it's like, to just be cycling alongside other motorists. But again, I also don't want this to just be about cyclists looking out for cyclists as well. I think this is also a really good moment to point out to motorists as well that cyclists on the road, it's a range of experience. There's a range of different levels of experience of cyclists being out on the road. So if you're watching this, fellow motorists, I hope that you be mindful of that, and not to have a broad stroke, of cyclists and their respective attitudes, so on and so forth, or even experience for that matter. Everyone's got their own rhythm, everyone's got their own fears, insecurities being out on the road. So if you see sometimes, for motorists, if you do see sometimes cyclists who seem tentative and unsure, take it as they are actually trying to build their confidence being on the road. This road down here, though, is absolutely beautiful. I love this stretch. Buttery smooth tarmac. There are some sketchy spots, but generally, because this is like it's a gentle gradient downhill. I feel I don't have anything to estimate that, but I feel like it's a very gentle downhill in this whole stretch of maybe, I think, 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers or something like that. But it's really, really a beautiful stretch of road. I really enjoy cycling down this path. Like, oh, it's the best. Like, I think even if there were headwinds, like it doesn't feel that bad for some reason. On the left is, I think that's Mount Elizabeth Hospital. You see, sometimes I switch between the leftmost lane and the lane right next to it, simply because sometimes I feel like some motorists are also tentative in where they're going, and I feel like I don't want to wait on them. And if I have the energy and I have the strength for it, I would probably just mash through this on a day like this, especially when I'm literally in a rush to get back home. I usually I don't spare any, I put all the effort I can in this particular commute. Traffic starting to get a bit heavy over here, but I think I got quite lucky. I think I missed rush hour by like maybe 15-20 minutes or so. I managed to escape rush hour along Orchard Road. Similarly down this path as well of Orchard Road from Tanglin into Orchard, like I really love this stretch as well. If you get all green lights, it's just all the way straight down. It's like, yeah, it's a fantastic stretch. Like I really love cycling down this entire road. See, over here I wouldn't keep to the leftmost because I don't want to be stuck in, I don't know what that was. Cars were just sort of like having these really weird gaps. I don't know what they were waiting on. So yeah, I just wanted to bypass all of that and just try to get as much distance covered. People chasing the traffic lights before it runs out of time. Now this side of Orchard Road can be a little bit tricky because there are cars that's turning left or cars from the left that's actually coming out into the main road. So please be on the lookout when you're here. If you're unsure, if you're tentative, I think it's just safer to take the pavement because cars do seem to be, going really fast in this particular stretch. So please be careful. You could still use the roads if you wanted to, but I think the general vibe or temperament of vehicles over here is just trying to move as fast as possible. I think all of these motorists are probably trying to beat rush hour as well. They don't, because the moment you're stuck in traffic, like when there's a jam in this area, it gets really shitty. And I'm pretty sure everyone's just trying to avoid that, at least now that the roads are extremely clear. So be careful when you're over here. It's a wide road, but it's pretty dynamic when even when it's relatively clear. Heading towards Dhoby Ghat. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with these two, so it was a little bit like, where are you going? So I just needed to skip all of that. grateful that the motorist signaled in terms of making a turn, but I was already really close. So I get your signal, but yeah, I'm just gonna go past first. Check my messages. We're entering Dhobi Ghat. Plaza Singh is on the left. I do like this stretch as well though. It's really nice. Jungle fowl in the mist. School of the Arts, Sota on the left, SMU on the right, up ahead. It's kind of like entering through Bencoolen, Ras Basah area. And so now we're entering we'll be headed towards Serangoon Road, after which it's just a straight road down, all the way down into St. George's. Up ahead we'll be entering into Little India. Stretch of Saligi Road. There used to be some really nice food to eat along here. There was pawa and also nasi lemak kukus. But they're not here anymore, which is a shame. We're now down Serangoon Road. We're in Little India, which is pretty much just a straight path down to get to where we're heading towards. And this place, when it starts getting when traffic gets heavy over here, it can get pretty congested. So I'm glad to have been able to avoid that, so that I can just sort of like cycle through as quick as I can to get from one point to the other. But be careful of the bus lane. Actually, that left side. If you're cycling there along this area, there are a lot of really sketchy spots as well. Bad cracks and potholes. Just really be careful. are so open and clear at this point in time. It's just nice to just be able to just cycle through. I guess I'll end the commentary here. Much like the previous episode, you would know where this is sort of like headed towards, going in back into Serangoon Road, towards Boon King, MRT, and then eventually later on left into St. George's. Yeah, there's really not much to it. Traffic can be a little bit intense over here with some motorists wanting to take a left, so you've got to be very careful of that when that happens. But yeah, until then, when the roads are clear, it just helps in terms of going through. You don't feel as anxious or as concerned. Although sometimes it can be when it's very open, you would get motorists that's just going a lot more faster. So either way, it's very, very important to be cautious of your environment, to be mindful of everything and everyone around you. But at the heart of it, I think is what I mentioned before, it's just very useful to be able to have that opportunity to keep practicing, to just go out onto the road and build that confidence and build, just sort of like your ability to read the roads a lot better. I feel that's the only way. Of course, the other best way around it also is to go out with friends who have a bit more experience or who know their ways around, which is something I guess I'm looking into as well, organizing very small group rides just to help facilitate this ability to get comfortable on the road, so on and so forth. So we'll see about that, but yeah, take the time to go out, cycle on the road, just to build your confidence, and always stay safe when you're cycling. I guess that's about it. I'll catch you all in the next video. Take care.